time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day, so join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network here on Christmas Eve 2018. This is a live production of Sports Talk tonight. And, of course, you've got the one guy who is here every Christmas Eve when it's on a weekday. That is Phil Kornbluth. They make the Jewish guy work on Christmas Eve. How about that? What is the logic behind that? Frank Halloran, also here, running the board, going to take your phone calls. Didn't know Frank was Jewish. Is that why you're here too? You've got nothing else to do on Christmas? No, I'm only kidding. We know your family was very generous in allowing us to borrow you for tonight. And, of course, I like to feel like, around the states, around the country with sports talk shows on Christmas Eve, you get a lot of replays. You get a lot of second and third teamers. Not tonight. It's live, and it's the first team here tonight on Sports Talk. I actually love Christmas Eve. No traffic. Parking is great right in front of the building. No Pelagic. No Pro. Plenty of time for me to talk uninterrupted. That, my friends, is indeed a gift from heaven. 800-956-7266 is our phone number, and we'll take as many calls as roll in tonight. Look, I know most of you are with family and friends and doing things related to the holiday, and that's certainly understandable. But there is a little small piece of you out there who want to talk sports, who are still dialed in to the sports world and have things to say and things to question and things to wonder about. Like, what in the heck happened with Clemson out in Dallas, with the word coming down today from Dabo Swinney that 3 players are suspended as a result of a positive drug test by the NCAA, all tested positive for a banned substance. And right now, barring a successful appeal, they will miss Saturday's game against Notre Dame. And the 3 are Dexter Lawrence, Braden Galloway, and Zach Gaella. And, of course, Lawrence is the big name, the biggest name of the 3, the All-American defensive tackle. The drug test by the NCAA found a trace of the substance ostarine, an anabolic steroid used for muscle building and weight training. Dabo Swinney, and you'll hear from him coming up, had a press conference today, previously scheduled in Dallas, as the Tigers arrived yesterday and they practiced today at AT&T Stadium. And at his press conference, Dabo did not hold back. It was not one of these things where he left you wondering what the heck was going on. He was very out in front of this deal. And so the players, he said, had no knowledge of the drug in their system. He said he became really educated on this issue over the last several days. The Clemson folks have known about this since last week when the NCAA informed them back on Thursday. So they've had since Thursday and through the weekend to investigate and study and figure out, damage control, and also, of course, how to help their football team get through this, because losing Dexter Lawrence it's a big blow. Defensive stopper right in the middle of the defensive line. And, of course, when they go to that Rhino package, he's the fullback on the offensive side. Don't know if they would go to that in a semifinal playoff game, but they might, and he would be out there. Now, again, Clemson is appealing this to the NCAA, and they're hoping for some response on that appeal by Wednesday or Thursday. The 3 players are with Clemson in Dallas. They were able to convince the NCAA to allow the 3 to play because there is a B sample. When you have an NCAA drug test, they take an A sample, they take a B sample. And so, obviously, the A sample was the one that tested positive, and now the B sample is the one that you can use for appeal purposes, and that is the result that they are waiting for at this particular time. And that is where things stand right now. And so the question is, and what Clemson's trying to find out is, what is it that these players digested that resulted in this drug being in their systems. As Sweeney talked about today, this particular substance, this small amount of ostarine, could pop up in hair products, acne cream, supplements, food in the dining hall, according to the information laid out for us today out in Dallas. So that is where this stands. Your reaction, 800-956-7266. It said a small amount. I don't know what a small amount means. I don't have a figure. I don't know what a small amount would mean. I mean, if it's sort of a anabolic steroid kind of thing and the guys were, throwing down a bunch of pills and things of that nature, you would think that would show up in a greater number. But the report says, and the NCAA says, small amount, a trace amount. So, if this stuff was innocently ingested via some product that they bought over the counter, I would think that they could figure that out pretty quickly and come to a resolution on this thing. You're looking too here, if the NCAA turns down appeals and the suspension holds up for like Galloway in particular, who'll be back next year at tight end, you're looking at a potential year-long suspension for a violation of the PED rules of the NCAA. So this is not the way Clemson wanted to begin practice at AT&T Stadium in Dallas in preparation for Notre Dame coming up on Saturday. 800-956-7266. That's our phone number here on Sports Talk. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter @SportsTalkSC. If you lose us over the airways because you're traveling, you're leaving the state, you want to stay with us until 8 o'clock tonight, of course, you can jump on our Twitter feed, the live Periscope. You know what you can do if you have an advanced automobile, an advanced smartphone, just throw that sucker into your radio in your car and listen to us like you're just hearing us over the radio. Of course, many of our stations, they are streaming their audio on the TuneIn app and also the radio.com app. Our Columbia affiliate, which is available on the TuneIn app, the Point Radio, always carries us, never preempts us, and you can pick them up, the Point Radio, and again, you can just put them right into your car radio and take us that way. And so we'll get to your phone calls here coming up momentarily. Also, of course, over the weekend, it was basketball, and it was Clemson once again defeating South Carolina at the Colonial Life Arena. And it was a game that was pretty much dominated by Clemson most of the way. The Tigers held off a Gamecock run in the second half to win it 78-68. They had a 16-point lead. Gamecocks cut it to 5. And then things sort of stabilized after Marquise Reed. Boy, that guy is a pro. He is cold-blooded, as they say, in the basketball world, because when the Tigers needed the basket, he was the guy they went to. He was the guy that came through with the key bucket time and again. And what you saw out there was basically the difference between a veteran team that has as its mainstays older guys, Reed, Mitchell, Thomas, Scara. I mean, they got a bunch of old guys out there. 4 of their starters are seniors, and South Carolina's having to deal with a bunch of young guys. And I thought they got great effort out of most of their guys on Saturday, South Carolina. I thought Silva gave them all he could. And, of course, the Gamecocks, as Brad Brownell professionally recognized after the game, playing shorthanded are the Gamecocks right now. They had 4 potential starters out, right? And they're not good enough. They're not deep enough. They're not old enough to overcome that. I do like the looks of a lot of these freshmen as they have to play and as they get older and they make it through this season. If South Carolina, if Frank Martin can hold this group together, as he has not really done a lot of that over his time at South Carolina, but if he can hold this group together and then continue to add some quality recruits, then you'll start to see some upward movement in this basketball team. You might not see it this year, but I think you'll see them continue to get better. Meantime, it looks like Clemson has straightened things out, and they're getting ready for ACC play soon. Back in a moment.
word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Bill Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day, so join the show now by calling 800-956-7266. This is the place to talk Tigers, Gamecocks, and more. Sports talk across the state on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Did I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday? Should have done that from the outset because I guess that's the thing that you need to do here on Christmas Eve. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody dialed in across the state of South Carolina here on Christmas Eve of 2018. 800-956-7266. Coming up, we'll hear from Dabo Swinney. We'll also hear from Brian Kelly as he talked to the media out in Dallas today as well. So the folks involved with the Notre Dame-Clemson national semifinal are in place and getting to work. Of course, they are minus one very important, very big guy. You know, he has not been suspended for ingesting anything that would be against any rules, at least as far as we know. But Will Pelagic will be there on Wednesday. Actually, he'll be there tomorrow There is no Sports Talk tomorrow live. We will have a recorded show for you. It'll actually be our National Signing Day show that so many of you have demanded that we replay. And so you get your wish tomorrow on Christmas Day. All right, that'll be tomorrow. We will not be live tomorrow. Back live Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We will be in Charlotte tomorrow when the Gamecocks arrive in downtown Charlotte at their hotel. We will provide coverage of that for you, perhaps live on Periscope and certainly on our website, sportstalksc.com, because Will Muschamp will talk to the media when he gets off the bus, more or less within a few minutes of getting off the bus. We'll have that for you tomorrow. They are scheduled to arrive in Charlotte at 5 o'clock, so we'll have that for you then. All right, so the big news is what's happened with Clemson. We'll get into a few other things. We'll hear from Frank Martin and Brad Brownell, and also a pretty cool interview with a couple of the Tigers after their win on Saturday. They brought us Marquise Reed and Elijah Thomas together in a duo post-game interview. We'll bring you that. It's kind of cute stuff there. So with that all being said, let's go to our phone calls, 800-956-7266, and we interrupt the regular flow of our program to welcome into Sports Talk the bad boy by the bay, the pontiff of the port city, the de facto mayor of the city of Charleston, the ninja of the night, the queen of the cowboy crybabies. They're not crying too much right now. And the man who stole Christmas in Charleston. There'll be no Christmas for the little boys and girls of Charleston because this dude stole Christmas in the port city. It's not Jim Rome. He's sitting at his mansion behind a gated wall. It's J. Rome.
Yeah, I don't sit in the mansion behind a gated wall.
Well, you should. You should do so. You need to be protected.
No one wants to listen to me 5 days a week. Anyway, so Dexter Lawrence, what an idiot. You know, doggone well, man, you shouldn't be doing something like this. Oh, he injected it in his food? Yeah, sure, yeah, right. Who's he, Barry Bonds?
Now, seriously, Jerome, listen. I mean, they say it's a trace amount, a very small amount, whatever a trace equates to. All right. And apparently there are ways you innocently can get this in your system. And here was I was thinking, too. I mean, here is a kid, and we'll just use Dexter Lawrence as the example here because he's out front.
20-something-year-old grown man. Don't give me that kid.
He is a grown man. But he has been nothing but a perfect soldier his entire time in college. I mean, this is a guy that has done everything right. He has been, great in dealing with the media and the public and the fans and volunteering for things. Do you think this guy, who's on the verge, of course, of cashing a big check if he wants to after this season, come on, do you think he is dumb enough to purposely take a steroid that would be picked up by an NCAA test?
Hey, was Roger Clemens dumb enough to say he misremembered when they started asking him questions about stuff he was taking? Was Barry Bonds? Oh, Barry Bonds, one of the highest paid, one of the most dominant players, taking stuff that he shouldn't have been taking. And he lied the whole, and he's still lying.
Yeah, but they had enough in their system to manufacture the drugs out of their own blood. Okay, they could separate the drug from the blood and manufacture trace amount, very small, minute amount. Trace.
So these athletes know about everything that goes in their body. Okay, you cannot take any chances whatsoever when you're being watched like this.
It could have been, according to Sweeney, it could have been in his shampoo. It could have been in the food they were serving him. You don't believe any of that.
Dabo ought to be ashamed of himself. You know what? He's just making excuses because he's going to lose one of his best players. Hey, come on now.
Listen,
I thought he was smarter than this.
I'm the first one to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and I'll do it here. And again, I look at the track record of these three, and what in the world is Zach Gallela, who never plays, all right? What's he doing trying to go outside the rules and use a steroid or a muscle enhancer and doing it on purpose? He has nothing to gain from that. I mean,
So
I
we live
gotta
in a
believe.
world
No, seriously,
where
I
people
gotta
are
believe
capable
this
of
is an
anything.
accidental deal here. It just doesn't make any sense. I gotta believe this is some sort of accidental deal.
Well, it's going to cost them maybe this bowl game, and if they survive this one, the next one.
Yeah.
If they're not going to let them play.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. I mean, if they suspended you, they must think you did something wrong, regardless of how little is in your system. You know, the NCAA, I don't know what their thinking is, and I would think that you look at what a player has done in his career and perhaps give him a bit of a benefit of the doubt. And I don't know if Lawrence has had a chance to testify in front of them, talk to them and say, hey, I haven't taken anything, man. I went home for the holidays. Clemson's players left on Thursday, and they scattered. They went to their various homes, and I guess the drug test had to be taken before he left campus. And hello, let's take down his call. There you go. And the test was taken before he left campus, and then Clemson got the news on Thursday about the time everybody was leaving that this drug test had turned up positive. To me, and call me naive or whatever, I just can't see these three guys intentionally injecting or digesting, just for the lack of a better word, a steroid type substance. I think of steroids as muscle enhancers. That's what I think of steroids very simply when it comes to the drug world. And so I just can't see them doing that, especially Lawrence, man. He's a multi-million-dollar guy just waiting for the draft if he wants to turn pro, which he's got no reason not to, especially if the Tigers were to, with his presence, win the national championship. I mean, he's got a multi-million-dollar payday waiting for him. He doesn't need a scandal like this to hurt his status among the NFL scouts. Doesn't make any sense to me. We'll hear from Dabo Swinney coming up here at the bottom of the hour and let you hear what he had to say today. Also, Brian Kelly, some comments from him. The Irish are in Dallas as well. And, Clemson is the favorite in this one. South Carolina's favored in its game against Virginia. And our poll question on our website, well, it's actually on our Twitter at SportsTalk SC. The question is, South Carolina, a 5.5-point favorite over Virginia. Do you think the Gamecocks will win and cover? Do you think the Gamecocks will simply just win but not cover? Or do you think the Gamecocks are going to lose against Virginia? And thus far, I would tell you that almost 1,000 votes in just a day, 58% of the votes say the Gamecocks will win and cover. 31% believe the Gamecocks will flat out lose. 11% say the Gamecocks will win but not cover. What are your thoughts there? 800-956-7266. And after the break, we'll let you hear what Dabo Swinney had to say. You give him credit. He was up front, out in front, and very open about this situation. Didn't try to spin it. Didn't try to run from it. Didn't try to make it sound any better or worse than it actually is. We'll hear from him coming up in a moment. All right, back we are. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on Christmas Eve. Good to have you with us. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, safe travels. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Sports Talk. Phil Kornblut in the studio, along with Frank Halloran, also known as Fran with a K. Congratulations to Frank. First of all, he's going to law school, so it means you got a lot of brains. Number two, he has joined the National Guard, which means he's got a lot of heart. Brains and heart. What a great combination. Glad to have Frank Halloran as part of the Sports Talk family working tonight in place of the vacationing Brian Leonard. Reminder, tomorrow night's show will be a previous show, will not be live. Back live with you on Wednesday night here on Sports Talk. Okay, so today in Dallas, Dabo Swinney dropped the bomb of the news of the 3 suspended players for violation of NCAA drug policy following drug tests. Let's just go right to Dabo Swinney, hear how he explained that earlier today.
We do have an issue that we're dealing with, and I think that the best thing is to just be transparent in that. This time of year, they obviously do. I mean, we test all year long, but on Thursday, Dan Radakovich was notified by the NCAA. We had 3 guys that there was an issue with their drug testing. And so been dealing with that since Thursday. I think that the biggest thing is to make sure that, everybody understands, because I've had guys fail drug tests before. And usually when you say a guy fails a drug test, people write their own stories and they have their own innuendos and their own narratives and those type of things. And a lot of times those things are accurate, but in this case, I think it's important, very important, that the message is accurate and that the truth is told, because these are 3 great young men, 3 great young men that I believe in and that I know without a doubt have not intentionally done anything to jeopardize their opportunity or this team. And I want to make that real clear. And before I even give you their names, because I know that's the story. But the letter that came from the NCAA said that these 3 young men had a slither, a trace of some substance called ostarine. I have no idea what ostarine is. OSTARINE, but I have become almost an expert in it in the last 3 days. There's plenty of stuff y'all can look at, but I would be willing to bet that there's a likelihood that if they tested all of us right now, we might all, or some of us in here, have something in our system that we have no idea how it got there. A slither, a trace, a fraction. All right. This particular substance can come from anything. And these 3 players have no clue. In fact, they thought it was a joke when I called them. They have no clue how this has gotten in their system. It could come from hair products. It could come from cream. It could come from protein. It could come from a product that you order or buy online that you think is nothing wrong with it. It could be anything. Literally, it could be a drink, something in a drink. It literally could be anything, as I have come to learn. And in fact, I think there's been, 40 or so athletes over the past year or so that have had to deal with the same exact thing. And several have later come back to be vindicated. They had no idea. Then they found out where it came from. And so that's what we're in the process of doing. We're going to do everything we can to figure out if it is in the system. Heck, I don't know. I mean, who's to say that it is there? I mean, that's what we're being told. But they're all will have legal representation, and there will be a process to go through to find out. But where we are right now is we've got the 3 letters, and they have this trace, and so the next step is there's a B sample, and the B sample, they will test that, And we probably won't know till Wednesday or Thursday on that. So we're just kind of at the mercy of the process. And then there's an appeal after that, but that doesn't really help with this game. Maybe it helps for next week or, next year or whatever. But that's what we're dealing with right now. But I want to be very clear that these guys, this is not street drugs. This is nothing like that. And but the players are Braden Galloway, Zach Giella, and Dexter Lawrence. And so obviously Dexter is a starter and a very, very significant player on our team. But so even though Zach hasn't played as much and Braden is a freshman, they're still missing out on an opportunity that they have worked extremely hard for. And again, I don't know how, if it even is in their system, how it got there, but I do know that these three young men have not intentionally done anything. And there's, again, plenty of precedent where the same thing has happened across the country with other people. So, there is a process in place, and we'll work through that. But from a team standpoint, we have to get our team ready to play football. We got to get our team ready to play our best 4 quarters of the season. That's our goal. And so we have to prepare as if it's an injury and get the next guy ready. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So, I think it's just best, again, just to be transparent and honest, because I don't want there to be any speculation at all on what we're dealing with. That's exactly what we're dealing with. And I don't really know what else I can say about it other than I love all 3 of these guys. They're 3 special young people. And again, I know they've not intentionally done anything. And you're talking, and again, this is a hair of a trace of whatever this substance is. And so we'll deal with it accordingly, hope for the best, hope that the B sample will come back and they'll be cleared to play. But if not, we treat it as an injury. We got to get ready to move forward. And our goal has not changed, just to play the best 4 quarters of the season.
On the right. Chuck Carlton, Dallas Morning News. Just to be clear so we understand that, are you expecting to get some clarity on the B sample before the Cotton
game
Bowl?
Yes.
And,
probably Wednesday or Thursday.
And then I know something you've discussed about at length during the course of the season. I don't want to belabor it, but both teams made quarterback switches and
Yes.
both teams made the playoffs. In your case, you had a veteran starter coming back. How difficult was that decision, and what were the factors that played into it in your mind?
Yeah, it was a very difficult decision for sure, because you've got a guy that has won for you for sure and all that, but at the same time, your team changes every year, and at the end of the day, my job is to play the best guys. And after 4 games, we felt like Trevor deserved the opportunity to start the next game. I didn't know where it would go from there. But our quarterback decided that he wanted to move on, and so that changed the dynamics for our team. But really just performance, really nothing more than that, just how he had played after 4 games, and in particular the game in Georgia Tech that we had just witnessed, because it was close going into the season. And then after 4 games, we just felt like that he deserved the opportunity to run out there first. And it's not that Kelly would not have played. He would have definitely played and may have ended up going back. Who knows? But that's just where we were at that time. And so really nothing more than that went into the decision.
Coach on your left.
Yeah, Coach, I spoke with Charlie Waters, played at Clemson,
Yeah.
played here, and also played for Coach Stallings
Yep.
here. And he said that you remind him a lot of Coach Stallings. Give me your admiration for Coach Stallings. What did it mean to hear someone say that about you?
Well, that's kind of surreal for me to just even hear you say that, because my 7 years with Coach Stallings, and y'all heard me tell Stallings stories a lot, but his favorite all-time player was Charlie Waters. He used to talk about Charlie Waters all the time. I didn't have a clue who Charlie – I mean, I knew Charlie Waters when he was a Cowboy, but I didn't really know much more about Charlie Waters than that, other than –
All right, that's Dabo Swinney. He's going to go into talking about his former coach there. So that is Dabo from the presser. So you heard what he had to say, and we'll be back here on Sports Talk in a moment.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
So a little more information on this Ostarine. That's the trademark name for a selective androgen receptor modulator, also known as a SARM, not approved for human use or consumption in the U.S. or any other country. All right. So in recent years, the World Anti-Doping Association has reported an increasing number of positive tests involving SARMs, and athletes who use these substances most likely obtain them through black market channels. Research has shown that SARMs, like Ostarine, have fewer androgenic properties, meaning they have less influence on the development and balance of male hormones, including testosterone. While they are not yet approved for human use, SARMs are of interest to the medical community because they might be effective at treating different health conditions without resulting in the negative side effects of steroids. Ostarine is currently being investigated as a way to treat a variety of muscle wasting diseases such as osteoporosis, cancer, and hypogonadism. Gonadism. Have no idea what that is. So anyway, that's the definition and the background on Ostarine. Thing that jumps out at me here is that it's not approved for human use or consumption in the U.S. or in any other country. So, I mean, unless they got it through the black market, I mean, it wouldn't be in their food if it's not approved, right? Wouldn't be in their hair products or in creams, would it? If it's not approved by the FDA or whatever. According to this, most likely obtained through black market channels. Now, that would be a problem. That would mean you intentionally went out to purchase and use the substance, no matter how little is in your system. Maybe that is why the NCAA has dropped the hammer. Maybe they're not buying the argument that it got into their systems through innocent ways. All right? We're just going to have to wait and see how this story plays out. I mean, if you go by the letter of the law here, it makes it sound like the only way to get this particular substance is through black market channels. But maybe there is some other way. I don't know. This is all new to me. Let's go to Matt in Charleston, up next here on Sports Talk. Hello, Matt.
Thank you for taking my call, Corn. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
You're flying solo tonight.
Indeed.
Listen, I think part of the problem here is we've all been conditioned to the controversy in and around surrounding steroids, and a lot of our favorite athletes came up positive, or the accusations were fairly substantial, whether it was ever proven or not. That's why a fair number of them will never make it into the Hall of Fame. We all are aware of that. I think even Big Mac, the one that was McGuire, that was hitting all those home runs, that drug that he supposedly was taking was not even banned at the time. But, he's part and parcel of the whole package of steroid use. And so he's in there with the rest of them, like Clemens and Bonds and any of the rest of them that are out there. Jaminski, I think, not Jaminski, but there was another guy that had a funny sounding name that was involved in it. But, what I'm concerned about here is the fact that there are some illicit drugs out there that you can get by innocent consumption. One that comes readily to mind is poppy seeds. There used to be a fast food place, and you go eat there, and you eat a poppy seed bun. You tested positive for heroin. And my brother had a guy working along next to him in a city in Texas, and he tested. He came up positive for heroin on a random drug test for city employees, and he almost lost his job. He had to prove he didn't have a history of drug use, but he had eaten that day a poppy seed bun.
And it turned up as a positive test for heroin?
Yes, from my knowledge, it will do that.
Well, this is what the argument is from Clemson's standpoint, apparently, is that these guys innocently got this into their bloodstreams. And as they said in the press conference today, in their words, there are ways to get it through shampoos or creams or in your food. As Dabo said, any of those guys in that room at the press conference could have something illegal in their body and not know it. Now, this definition,
Well, the data you just read,
yeah,
the data you just read indicated, it debunked all that and said you can't get it that way. It's not fit for human consumption, or it's not approved for human consumption.
right.
But there again, you have to consider how big was the database that they were using, the sample they were using to say that. Who wrote that article? I don't know, how credible is it? Are there other credible sources out there to say that you can get it through innocent sources? I don't know. Even if you're anti-Clemson, you ought to at least be objective to make sure that you don't just throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Sure. Well, this information came from the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency. That's the group that defines what Ostarine is. I imagine that's a trustworthy agency, right?
Well, I would think so too. Yeah. But we can all be wrong sometimes.
True that. I agree. I agree. We're just going to have to wait and see what other information comes up here moving forward. Again, I like to give the benefit of the doubt. And in this particular case, you're talking about three guys, as Dabo said, who've not done anything wrong in their entire careers. Makes no sense for any of them to be taking something illegal substances with their own knowledge, and at the very least purchasing it on the black market. So I don't know. I don't have enough to tell yet to have an idea of what's really true and not true here.
Yeah, and we don't have all the evidence yet. And as far as the NCAA is concerned, how they're going to respond to this letter of inquiry by Clemson to let these players play. I don't know how that's going to play in their mind, because based on what you read from the anti-doping group, internationally as well as nationally, you would think that their answer is going to be no, they're suspended for the game. And the other one, that's not even a starter, would be suspended all next year, apparently, based on what you've said so far. Mm-hmm. So we'll just have to let that part of it play out. But I just hope the best. These guys, apparently, if they don't have any history of illicit drug use, that should count for something as far as the benefit of a doubt is concerned.
Well, you would think so. You would think the NCAA would take a look at how a player has carried himself in college, the student athlete, okay? What has been his record? What has been his portfolio as a student athlete? And, let's just use Dexter Lawrence here because he's the most well-known of these three guys. The guy couldn't have a better portfolio as a student athlete. And
correct.
If what Dabo Swinney and Clemson are saying is accurate, and it was, as he put it, a slice, he said, as how he described it, a slice, just a tinge of this stuff. The only thing that, again, after reading this definition, that raises the question mark in my mind is, and this is the question, this is the $10 million question, is how did it get in their system? What did they inhale? What did they eat? What did they put on their bodies that would have this substance in it if it's banned, if it's not available in any country, according to the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency and its definition of Ostarine?
I hear what you're saying, and I agree with that. But, the thing is, let's broaden the perspective just a little bit, or expand it. Think about law enforcement when they're doing a forensic investigation on something. Sometimes when they have just a trace of wrongdoing in a criminal situation, they try to get something else to corroborate that. And if they don't, then that by itself, in and of itself, is usually not enough to convict somebody.
Well, and that's, you're trying to get a conviction from 12 citizens. In this case, the NCAA is judge and jury and enforcement arm. They do it all themselves. So they don't have to take you in front of a jury. They are the jury.
So you can't appeal.
No, you can appeal. Yeah, but you're appealing it to the same people that convict you. So good luck.
Right.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate you letting me talk.
Oh, good hearing from you. Happy holidays. Appreciate the phone call. All right. We'll continue. It's going to get to recruiting. I got a few recruiting notes for you, of course, and also some comments from USC quarterback Jake Bentley. Let you hear from him. And, we're going to get into the basketball game as well from this past Saturday. Let you hear from the main characters there. So we got busy hour number 2. Boy, that's a fast hour number 1. Hour number 2 coming up in a few.
Round 2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. 800-956-7266 is how you can reach us here. Hope you're having a great day. A tremendous Christmas Eve, heading out to see family, friends, and others. If you want to chime in, 800-956-7266 is the number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com, on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Got a few little recruiting notes here for you to share with you here on Christmas Eve. Just looking at some of the rankings over the weekend from last week's early signing day, and a little something here jumped out at me, so I'll share it with you. Clemson's signing class of 27, of course, ranked 5th nationally through Sunday by Rivals. Now, the 4 teams ahead of Clemson are all SEC teams: Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M, and LSU. So a couple of things you derive from that. Number one, Clemson's number 1 in the ACC, of course. And number 2, Clemson would be number 1 in every other conference in the country, except for the SEC, where they would be 5th in recruiting, okay? Blame all this on Rivals now. I'm using their rankings. So this is further proof of the tough neighborhood where USC has to live, and they chose to live there. So the Gamecocks have 19 signees and an unsigned commitment in junior college defensive lineman Jakeem Green. They're ranked 19th by Rivals, okay? So they're 9th in the SEC by Rivals. But if the Gamecocks were in the ACC by the Rivals rankings, they would be number 3 behind Clemson and Florida State. If they were in the Big 12, they would be number 3 behind Oklahoma and Texas. If they were in the Big 10, the Gamecocks would be 4th behind Michigan, Penn State, and Nebraska. So, you know, when you think about it, if you're a Gamecock fan and you're just like, 19th, okay, but 9th in the SEC. That's true. That's where you live. That's where your bread is buttered. But if you put it in the context of, well, how would South Carolina fit in with the other leagues around the country outside the SEC, they would fit in quite well in terms of recruiting rankings. It just tells you how respected the analysts view the recruiting classes by the other SEC teams. So anyway, just a little food for thought. As for the other rankings that are out there, 24/7 Sports has Clemson 6th and USC 20th. The 24/7 Composite has Clemson 5th and USC 21st, and ESPN has Clemson 6th and USC 22. Don't forget, USC remains in the mix for corner Chris Steele of Bellflower, California, who announces January 5th at the All-American Bowl in San Antonio. Publicly, it's USC, Florida, Oregon, Oklahoma, and Southern Cal as the final 5. Checked in with a source who has had contact with Steele recently, and he said that Steele has not told him the Gamecocks are out. Sentiment, however, nationally appears to be more in line with Florida and Oregon. And, of course, the Gamecocks will remain involved with several unsigned prospects in February, including receiver defensive back Jashawn Sheffield of St. Simon's Island, Georgia, an Auburn commit who did not sign, of course. Defensive lineman Jaquez Sorrells of Winter Park, Florida. Offensive lineman Darius Washington of Pensacola, who's been a Mississippi State commitment. Cornerback DeQuantius Watts of Atlanta, who just picked up an offer from Oregon. Cornerback Jamie Robinson of Leesburg, Georgia. Cornerback Shiloh Sanders of Cedar Hill, Texas. And, of course, new names could be added. Clemson will continue to work on running back Jerrion Ely of Jackson, Mississippi, an Ole Miss commit, but he did take an official visit to Mississippi State. And there is some speculation Clemson might try to get more involved with defensive back Akeem Dent, who's been a Florida State commit but did not sign last week. A few other notes. Sockasty receiver Kenny Solomon was offered by Massachusetts. Receiver DJ Chisholm of Berkeley was offered by Middle Tennessee. And USC offered 2020 corner Dedrick Stanley of Hollywood, Florida, and defensive lineman Alton Tarber of Deerfield Beach, Florida. And Clemson recently offered 2020 defensive lineman Cole Brevard of Carmel, Indiana, and 2020 corner Fred Davis of Jacksonville. Davis also has a USC offer. In basketball, Clemson offered 2020 6'8" Jamari Sibley of Milwaukee. There you go with the recruiting. Hey, if you haven't had a chance to check it out, check out our recruiting podcast on our website. Just go to the website and click on the podcast. It's updated, right now about once a week. We have a podcast there for you that was done right after a signing day. So if you're out for a walk, out for a jog, need to take a nap, pop that recruiting podcast into your head. It'll do amazing things for you. I can promise you that. Jake Bentley hopes to do some amazing things. Can he build on his performance of against Clemson in particular? Not going to hold Akron against the Gamecock offense, especially the second half, because of the really tough conditions they were playing in. But the Clemson game, of course, he was spectacular. The Gamecock receivers were spectacular. This is Monday. So last week we had a chance to listen in and catch up with Jake Bentley about preparation, team-wise and individually, for the bowl game.
Jake, do you think this team has made progress this year? And if so or not, how much would success of the bowl game mean towards keeping that progress going?
Yeah, I think we've made a lot of progress, and the fact that we've overcame a lot of adversity and made some mistakes, but I think I've grew from them and learned from them and became better players for it. And I think a bowl game would just kind of be the icing on the cake for that, and kind of a reward to the seniors and to the guys that have just battled so hard this year through so much, and to be rewarded with the bowl game would be amazing.
Can you kind of just talk about your personal growth, I guess, over from this point last year up until now?
Yeah, I think I'm, more knowledgeable of the game. I think this year just learned a lot about, leadership and just and the mindset that it takes to win games, and not getting too high or getting too low, and just staying even keel and able to, respond to situations the same each and every time. I think that's the biggest difference from our whole team is just being able to respond the right way with any situation.
Jake, what have you seen Virginia in their defensive secondary, in particular number 34? He leads the nation in pass breakups. What do you see in that matchup? Yeah,
he's a great player. He's very instinctual. You'll see a receiver kind of get open and him just close the distance and go make a play. And that's what the great DBs do. They find a way to get back into play, and you see that time and time again from him. And then their defense as a whole, they do a lot of different coverages. They do a great job of mixing it up and, understanding how to disguise different coverages. So it's going to be a great challenge for us. It's going to be a challenge and preparation of getting a feel for what they want to do.
I know a lot of defenses are pretty multiple, but did they look like anybody you played this year?
Not really as far as what they do. The scheme that they kind of have is unique, and they do a great job of running it. And, they're very, very good defensively, so we'll have to play good and prepare well.
Jake, a couple. How has Chandler looked at center during these first few bowl practices? And do you think the up-tempo offense will be a challenge with a revamped offensive line?
Yeah, I think him and Hank Manos have done a great job of stepping in, and we go just as fast with any group that's out there, so it's no change to them. Donnie's still right beside them to help them out if they need it. There's really no change. That they've both done a great job of keeping the tempo and keep us roll.
Jake, how do you think the offense will respond without Debo, and how has it looked so far these couple of days?
It's I think the first day it was strange to everyone not having him out there for sure, and kind of missing that piece to us. But I think all the guys responded well, and it's looked good. Guys are getting open. Josh is stepping up and playing some more plays, and then I think Kiel and KC have also stepped up and taken over some slot reps and moving shy outside. So I think a lot of guys have stepped up and played really well, and I'm excited for us. And I don't foresee any drop off, and there shouldn't be any drop off for offensively what we're doing.
Okay, Jake Bentley, looking forward to finishing his season on a high note. And then, he'll hear back from the NFL folks. I would imagine he'll be back for his senior year at South Carolina. I would certainly think so. But if he can finish up big, get a win over Virginia, look good doing it, the entire Gamecock offense looked good doing it, that would be a big step forward for them heading into 2019 when they've got to be good. You look at that schedule, they have got to be good to survive. Back in a moment.
This is the place to talk Tigers, Gamecocks, and more. Sports talk across the state on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Flying through a Christmas Eve edition of Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Thank you for being with us. Let me take a moment here because I tend to forget things later in the show when we sign off, and I've forgotten to say things. Do want to thank all our stations across the state for being with us once again this year on Sports Talk. We love you guys. We wouldn't be here without you. We appreciate you being with us each and every night here in our 35th year of Sports Talk. 35 football seasons, 36 coming up next year. Looking forward to all that, but we really do appreciate all the station owners, station managers, directors, producers, on-air talent, board operators, computers. Yes, I'm speaking to you computers because I know a lot of you are run by the computer, not by a human at this time of the night. But we appreciate you, and we thank you for being a part of Sports Talk. We wish you all a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. Former Gamecock DJ Swearinger is looking for a new team. He was released today by the Redskins after he blasted the coaches and the head coach, Jay Gruden, in a radio interview today. Or actually, he blasted the coaches, I guess maybe in person, and then on the radio said that he does not regret anything because it came from his heart. And so anyway, you know how Swearinger is. I tell you what, Shell Dula told us back in the recruiting period time of DJ Swearinger coming out of Greenwood High School that he was the smartest football player he had ever coached. Shell Dula's coached a lot of great football players over the years. He said Swearinger was the smartest football player he's ever coached. And Swearinger is, he's backed it up with a great college career, a great NFL career. He's outspoken, physical, in your face, both with coaches and players. Now he's looking for a job. Somebody will pick him up. I don't have any doubt about that. He's still got a lot of football left in that body. Speaking of football, of course, Panthers, NFL football, Panthers go down again yesterday. No Mick Mixon tonight. He's got a family function, so we'll let him enjoy that, and we'll pick him up next week at the end of the season. But what do you think they're going to do with Ron Rivera? Boy, what a train wreck the Panthers have been the last 7 weeks. And but one thing I love about the NFL, and, of course, I'm happy because my Packers won. The Packers and Jets yesterday played a game that had absolutely no meaning other than the draft order, and they played it like a dang Super Bowl. Now, this is what I mean. This is why, you don't have ping pong balls in the NFL, okay? Because to their credit, the coaches and players, when they play a football game, it means something, and they play it that way, unlike their brethren in the NBA. Most ridiculous, most embarrassing thing in all of sports is the NBA draft lottery, because it's just an admission that teams tank, that when the season goes down, they start tanking. And, they want to have some sort of way of trying to convince teams, tanking is not going to get it done for you automatically. You're still going to have to go through this thing called the lottery, though it's so heavily weighted in favor of the worst team that even by tanking, you most likely will be rewarded with the number one pick. And, of course, in basketball, we know if you get that right number one pick, it can change everything for you. That one guy, if it's the right guy, and you know who we're talking about, look at the different franchises that were horrible, and then they got a Larry Bird, a Magic Johnson, a Michael Jordan, a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the individual guy, what's his face, LeBron James. I mean, one guy. Can't do that in football unless it's usually a quarterback. A quarterback can turn you if you got a good supporting cast. But anyway, happy the Packers won. So I took some money off Pelagic, took some money off Teddy Hefner. Not really. We didn't have a bet going, but I would have taken some money off of them had they, stepped up to the plate and offered some up. Also today in Dallas, besides Clemson, Notre Dame is there, and they're practicing, and they talked with the media. Here is their coach, Brian Kelly, from today as he sat down with the media at AT&T Stadium and took some questions.
Brian, it's kind of interesting that both these teams are undefeated, both made quarterback changes during the course of the season. Talk about what went into your move to go to Ian and all the factors. You obviously unbeaten at the time, but what factored into it, and what kind of development have you seen from him since he took over that job?
Yeah, so I've spoke on this a number of times. We felt like offense was coming to us, but there was a lot of work that needed to be done for it to come to us in terms of we had to play a complete game, both offensively, defensively, and special teams. And even though we had won our first 3 games, I think in one of the games we played defensively over 90 snaps, and so there was a lot of work going into it. So as we evaluated moving forward, we felt like Ian would give us the best shot at winning each and every week that we played, and doing it with more efficiency. So it was a matter of looking at it from much more of a overall perspective of how it would affect our entire team, not just the offense. Because Brendan, won a lot of games as a starter. So it wasn't about just winning games on offense, but it was for the entire football team. And then I think where Ian's grown is just game situations, settling into the game, making game adjustments, getting a feel for the game, all the things that you would expect somebody that was a first-year starter that he needed. And so he's gained that game-like experience where you can make some adjustments and he picks up on it and is able to execute. I think that's where we've seen the growth.
On the right.
Coach, I know sometimes for these bowl games, some people don't show up because of academic reasons or injuries and such. Do you think everyone will be available for this weekend's game?
Yeah, this is not a bowl game. I mean, this is a bowl. It's sponsored by the Cotton Bowl, but this is a playoff game. And so all the players that are here are eligible to play. And so we took everybody. So we don't have anybody that's not eligible to play. We do have one injury update. Dylan Gibbons had a fracture in his foot during practice, and he had surgery, so he will not play. He wasn't going to play anyway. He was being redshirted, but yeah, we have no issues relative to academics. We don't have anybody that is not playing because of their NFL aspirations, or any injuries that may have occurred during the last couple of practices.
And how would you say Myron has, progressed over the last few weeks?
Been very impressed. I think he's capable of playing and playing well. Now, sometimes you get a player back and maybe he can give you a few snaps here. I think he can play, and I think he can play well for us.
In terms of what you've seen from that Clemson defensive line on film, and also how your offensive line has come together after losing 2 All-Americans from last year.
Yeah, I mean, they are who they are. I mean, there's no denying that this is one of the top, if not the best defensive lines that I can remember facing. I mean, maybe Alabama in 12. There's some similarities to the 17 North Carolina State front, but this is as good as it gets. Versatility, explosiveness, edge presence. We have to be – the ball's got to come out quickly. You can't stand back there and hold it. You've got to move the launch point. You have to find a way to keep them off balance in the run game. You're not going to run it down their throat. You're not going to bludgeon them up front, but you have to keep them off balance. So it will be a challenge. But I think what's happened this year with this offensive line is that they work well together. They now know each other. They know how to work with each other, and they play off each other pretty good.
I don't know how aware you were of during the the final weeks of the CFP debate. You're clearly in the playoff, but there were people going, don't have to play a championship game. Some of the teams on your schedule were enjoying down years, that sort of thing. How, you don't normally associate Notre Dame and respect in the same thing, but is there a little bit of a respect factor at all for you and your team coming into this game?
No, I really don't think so. I think that, there was a little bit of, I think every team other than maybe.
Okay, Brian Kelly, and we'll be back in just a moment. Got to make a correction. You know, when I make an error, I like to correct it as soon as possible. I was not aware that Deshaun Sheffield actually did sign with Auburn back on Wednesday at some point. So my apologies. He is not on USC's future board for the rest of this recruiting period because he signed with Auburn. So just want to make sure I cleared that up. And thanks to the folks who let me know about that. Did not see that. So Deshaun Sheffield is with the Auburn Tigers and, of course, no longer being recruited by South Carolina, as they did try to get in there and turn him. So the Gamecocks did not do – I mean, they did what they could do, but they weren't very successful in trying to turn guys who were committed. They did not turn Tyrone Hopper from Florida. They did not turn Sheffield from Auburn. They did not turn the cornerback from Alabama who stuck with Florida. I erase these names as soon as they sign. So, but they still are happy with the guys that they did sign, and they still have, of course, even without Sheffield, a good number of guys they'll be recruiting into January. Now, Saturday at Colonial Life Arena, South Carolina and Clemson played their annual basketball game. Announced crowd of 12,269 on hand. Seemed like that was pretty accurate as far as the people in attendance. Clemson wins it by a final score, 78-68. So the Clemson domination of men's sports against USC continues now. That's 3 in a row in basketball, 5 in a row in football, 4 baseball series in a row, and as somebody tweeted at us, 5 men soccer matches in a row. So that's not good from a South Carolina standpoint. It's very good from a Clemson standpoint. Here is Coach Brad Brownell of the Tigers. Some of his comments afterwards. Obviously, he was feeling pretty good.
Terrific win for our team, especially battling a little bit of adversity with some fouls, and really great to see our bench in the first half just kind of keep us going. We got some good minutes out of young players that really helped us inside while Eli and Amir were in foul trouble. I thought David Scarr was outstanding in the first half, and a lot was asked of he and Shelton. And then obviously a big factor for us was having Marquise Reed back. Marquise Reed is just a super talented player, scorer that takes a lot of pressure off our team. I thought we did some good things in the game to help him, and he certainly played the game with a lot of confidence. He and Shelton Mitchell, 2 older guards, I think showed their experience. A lot of credit to South Carolina, Frank. Just they're dealing with a lot. I mean, we dealt with it with Marquise for 3 games, but when they've got 3 and 4 guys over there hurt that are good players, it's just hard. It is just really hard. And those kids on their team just kept competing and coming at us. Certainly, they had us on our heels late. We're having trouble keeping them off the glass. They were just playing so hard, and we were fortunate that they didn't shoot the ball very well from 3 tonight. And, we were able to kind of get out of here with a very hard-fought win against a team that's always hard to play against. Questions?
Brad, when did you know Marquise was going to play?
Thought he probably would on Friday. The doctors just said, hey, with a brace, he's going to have a little bit of mobility issue at times, but there's no – with the brace is so strong, it's probably better than his other knee, to be honest with you. And as long as he feels okay, and then it's up to him if he wants to do it. And so he did a little bit of stuff 5-on-0 non-contact Thursday. He went through about an hour of practice on Friday, and then we talked a little bit more Friday night and then this morning just to confirm that, hey, do you really want to try to do this? And I said, if there's any doubt at all, then don't do it. And he wants to play, and obviously he was a huge factor in the game for our team.
That's Brad Brownell. Let's go to Frank Martin now. Obviously, his mood not quite as good, though he was somewhat pleased with the way his team fought back. Okay, hang on a second here. That does not sound like the beginning of Frank Martin. Do we have Frank Martin come up? Here we go. For some reason, I didn't cut that out. That's on me. Hey, it's the holiday. What can I tell you? This is what it sounds like when Frank walks up to the microphone, ladies and gentlemen. A big release of air. Here we go.
All right, what we got?
Frank, how difficult was it to try to keep them from coming into the lane to really get their offense flowing?
Yeah, we fought it at times, but then we don't understand how hard you have to play every single time. We had great defensive possessions. I think they had 3 or 4 shot clock violations, but we also had some other ones where the guy on the ball just is a little tired, just not tough enough yet to lock in and stay committed. And then he relaxes, and their 5th-year seniors just said, "I'm going." And but I thought the difference in the game was, which I don't know their team. I mean, I know their personnel. I coach against them every year, and I watch them on film. But Marquise Reed uplifted the spirit of that basketball team. He made the other guys play better in the first half. When he checked in, all of a sudden, their I don't want to say their spirit was not where it needed to be, but our spirit was really good. And then all of a sudden, he checks in the game and he uplifts their spirit. And then that's what we're fighting right now. When things get difficult, we tend to relax and get really quiet and non-competitive. And when you play any team, you that can't happen. And that's kind of what we're fighting right now.
Frank, Brad talked about how different, when you get in a tight game late, the difference, you can see it with experienced guards and younger guys. Are you guys learning? I mean, there's a couple times though where you're in it against those experienced guards like Virginia, like today. What do you think that they're gaining out of this stuff?
They came down every down the stretch there. We cut it to, I don't know if it ever got to 4. I think it was 5 and 6. And Marquise Reed would just kind of say, "All right, I got to score. I can't let them get the ball back." And he just kind of get it to a spot and jump up and make a shot. And we tried to run something against the zone the zone that they were in that we were prepared for, and we make a bad decision. We threw it to the guy we said don't throw it to that guy, but that's where my freshman threw it to, and I'm not trying to blame him. It's just I'm trying to give you the difference with coaching freshmen or coaching seniors. And then the next time we throw or we said throw it, and it's a one Chris kind of, he's expecting the ball in his inside hand to shoot it, and we pass it to him over here. Now he's got to catch the ball, but just little things like that. That's a difference. That's a difference. Now that allows a 2-possession game to become a 3-possession game with 2 minutes to go. That's a huge, huge difference just on that little mistake.
All right, Frank Martin. So you look at Clemson coming off the win. The Tigers improved to 9-3. Got Lipscomb coming up. Lipscomb's usually a pretty tough test for people. And then Duke, January 5th in Durham. Tigers had to like their overall performance, balanced scoring with 5 in double figures. Reed, who did not start, obviously he is a starter. He had 20. Scara gave him 14 and 8, maybe his best performance, one of his best performances as a Tiger. Thomas was solid, 11 and 2 for him. Clyde Trapp continues to give them quality minutes with 10 points. Just good all-around performance. The Tigers moved the ball well. They shot 56%. For much of the game, they were over 60%. They D'd up the Gamecocks, who shot only 36.5%. Tell you, though, if you're a Gamecock fan, you have to take heart in the performance of Alonzo Frink. He was, in his 24 minutes, he was excellent with 8 points, 7 rebounds. He battled in there, gives you some hope for the future. Keyshawn Bryant got tremendous raw talent, 10 points, 6 rebounds. A.J. Lawson didn't shoot it worth a darn. If he had shot the ball the way he can shoot it, would have helped. 2 of 15 from him. Had 8 points and 4 assists. Got to get more from your point guard, Trey Campbell. 1 assist on the day and only 1 of 5 shooting. That's not going to cut it. Got to get better there. All right, and we're going to have more from the game coming up.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
Hey, for those of you in the Columbia area, within the viewing area of Watch Fox 57, tonight at 11 o'clock, special edition of their Sports Zone, a Cotton Bowl preview with the pastor of Payne, Corey Miller, and our own Will Pelagic. So look for that tonight. If you are waiting on Santa to arrive, these will be a couple of, shall we say, Santa-like figures in terms of body build, right? In terms of body build, I think if you look at the two of them, you'd see a little bit of Santa-like development going on there. So check that out tonight, 11 o'clock on Watch Fox 57 in the Columbia area. All right, looking at a few of our notifications here on Twitter. Question here from Robert. What about the drug scandal? Okay, I think we've talked about the quote-unquote drug scandal at Clemson. And let's see what we got here. Dun, 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 dun. It's Christmas Eve. Go home and enjoy your families. Thank you from Jamie on that. We appreciate that. We will be doing that here shortly, though some of us still have to work. What else? From Keith on the Clemson deal. They will not face any punishment. Now, we shall see on that. From Dr. Sterling Harris. Wonder why he's a doctor. Is he a doctor of letters or if he's a doctor of medicine? No one asked for exceptions with Will Grier or basketball players who were tested during the NCAA tournament, which happens all the time. Okay. No one's asking for exceptions here. I just think in any case, whether it's this one or Will Grier's case or any basketball player who tests for whatever reason, once they get all the facts, I mean, if it was an innocent ingestion of this substance, if indeed, and then you look at their track record and see where they were perfect model citizens as student athletes, you should get a break. And that would be, I'd say the same thing about any Gamecocks or anybody, any student athlete that got caught up in this. Now, if they intentionally went out and purchased it on the black market and used it, that's a different story. Now you're talking about a whole different thing there. All right. Want to leave you with this little piece with Clemson's two of the standouts from Saturday's win over South Carolina, because it's kind of a neat little piece. Elijah Thomas and Marquise Reed together outside their locker room after the win over South Carolina. Again, Mitchell back for his first game after missing, I think it was 3 with the knee injury. He played with a brace, but you'd never know it. 7 of 12 from the floor, 5 of 6 from the line, 20 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists in 30 minutes, and 3 steals. Elijah Thomas had 11 points, 2 rebounds. He was in some foul trouble, so he was limited to just 18 minutes. And here we are talking to the two of them following the game. How's it feel to be back? And, boy, they came to you at money time.
Felt good to get back out there with my teammates. Big rivalry game, so try my best just to get back out there, play to my strengths.
How much did you want it when it was getting a little bit tight and needed some points?
We wanted real bad, come area looking for a win, and just want to keep the streak going with the rivalry.
3-0.
What was that?
3-0. If I'm not mistaken, I think me and Keith and Sheldon 3-0. I could be wrong. Me, Keith, Sheldon, and Coach B, am I wrong? Am I right?
I haven't lost it.
Yeah, I ain't lost it either. So I think we 3-0.
What's it mean to you to do that?
It means everything. When I first got here, this rivalry, it was different for me because that was my second game playing as a Tiger. So I didn't really get to understand what it meant. But, watching the football games, soccer games, and just being here for as long as I've been here, I kind of finally understood what the rivalry meant. And for us to go undefeated, like us three to go undefeated, it means everything to me.
How about the battle inside with Silva in particular?
Oh, it was a great battle. Off the court, I'm really good friends with those guys. They work hard and we work hard. And it's always good to come together and play against each other towards Christmas.
Marquise, how does the knee feel right now? And when did you know you were going to play?
At warm-ups, they was going to go through warm-ups, see how I felt the warm-ups. And warm-ups, it just felt good. So I told Coach that I'm ready to go.
Does it feel pretty good right now? Or and I guess now you guys get a little bit of a break, too.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to rest it. We're going to play again until the 30th, so I got a few more days to rest it, get it back up to par.
What does it mean to you to get back in this game and pull out a win against the rival?
Yeah, it's a hard game to come back to after coming off injury. South Carolina, just with their defense, the hostile environment. So it's a tough game to come back for your first game, but I was willing to play and sacrifice for the team to get this win.
What was it
you learn while you were sitting out? What did you see?
Oh man, as a player, and as a player, when you sit on the sideline, you see so much more than actually being out there. So when I came back, I just wanted to take what I saw from the last few games that I was sitting out and apply it to the court and help the other guys on my team.
What did y'all see
for you to have Marquise back in the lineup?
It means everything. I can't tell you how much I've missed this guy. He's a hard worker, and I tried my hardest to make sure he was positive during his injury, and he did vice versa when I sat out before the season started as well. So for him to come back and him to play in this game and him to get off and play as good as he did, man, that means everything to our team.
What did you see that led to the 16-point lead that got you guys up? But then what happened that let the game get tight and get it down to 5?
Well, I think our young guys did a great job of coming in and battling and playing hard. Jim Newman, I think he jumped out of the gym first half, and that gave us a boost. Sims played well. White played well. Scar played incredible. And as far as the lead being cut down, basketball is a game of runs. They're not a bad team. They're coached by a great coach. So, it wasn't going to be a blowout. Not this rivalry, not this game, and not him just coming back off injury and me playing 3 minutes in the first half. All those variables had a lot to do with why the deficit was cut short, but we prevailed at the end.
And when you obviously have to be smart with the injury, with a long season, but with the coaching staff and the trainers really have had a fight on their hands against you to keep you from playing in this rivalry game today.
No, not really. We just took it day by day. Yesterday I practiced, it went well, and today we said how I feel in warm-ups and went pretty well. So they believed in it, I believed in it. That's how we did it.
When the foul count goes against you 9-0 in a half, yeah. Do you have a hard time keeping your focus on that?
Well, it's part of the game. We got good calls. They got good calls. At the end of the day, I got to learn how to adjust to it. All right, Coach. I got to learn how to adjust to it, and until then, I'll keep putting myself in these situations. But, it's all a learning experience.
You feel like you're in Chapel Hill instead of Columbia with the foul calls like that?
No, sir. No, I don't think so. I think it was absolutely Columbia. And I think when we play at Chapel Hill, we get a fair whistle as well. But, those guys are really good, and they're good at drawing fouls just as good as we are. So it can go both ways.
On the fouls?
Yeah, like you said, you expect that playing at your opponent's home gym. So everything not going to go your way. You just got to battle and play through adversity.
Okay, a couple of Tigers there after the ball game, and got a little bit of an insight of how they feel about beating South Carolina 3 years in a row. So as we close out 2018 here in the state of South Carolina, as far as the competition between Clemson and South Carolina is concerned, Gamecocks have some work to do, and the Tigers just want to keep doing what they have been doing, and that is in terms of the men's sports, they have been handling South Carolina pretty well here of late, as I went over a little while ago. And, of course, South Carolina has had the upper hand in the Palmetto Series because the Gamecocks do extremely well on the women's side of things, and they pick up several victories there. Right now, I'm checking the standings of the Palmetto Series. Looks like it is tied at 5 each, with the next matchup being in baseball on March the 1st at 6 o'clock at Clemson. So we go into the new year deadlocked at 5 in this deal. But as you know and I know, for the most part, the men carry most of the attention. Let's see. USC won in women's soccer and in volleyball. Clemson won in men's soccer. USC won in – no, I guess Clemson won in women's cross country. The smaller number count as the winning number in cross country? I don't know how they keep score. I guess so. Shows here a Clemson win. USC won in women's golf. Clemson gets it in men's golf. USC won in women's basketball. Clemson won in football and in men's basketball. So for 2019, they will go in tied at 5. That'll do it. Merry Christmas to everybody. Not a live show tomorrow night. Check out the recorded show. Back with you live on Wednesday from Dallas and coverage from Charlotte. Thank you, Frank Halloran. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. We'll see you Wednesday.